wrestling in Puerto Rico and maybe Latin America, it's close to Pulsos in Spain, they call it Pulsos, but in Puerto Rico, it's Pulseo. And that's why my channel is called PulseoTV, which is aimed for the audience of Puerto Rico and Latin America that follow the sport. Tonight, we have with us Corey Miller, to me, one of the greats of the sport of arm wrestling in the United States and maybe the world, and one of the true legends of the sports, the Flash. I remember years ago watching Corey train in his, I think it's called the Bowflex. It's not the Bowflex, it's the other thing, the Chuck Norris one.
The Chuck Norris, yeah.
Yeah, and it always amazed me.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
Well, I just wanted to talk about the event this Saturday. It's going to be, I think it's the biggest card it has ever been in the United States in the latest years.
Mm-hmm.
And in Puerto Rico, we have an interest, we're very interested specifically in two matches. Your match with Janis and the match of Adam and Rakers. This is because you both, Adam and yourself, had great matches with Noel Nunez, which is a Puerto Rican from Florida, has had the opportunity to arm wrestle with you guys, and even he has beaten Adam once or twice, but the only time he pulled you, he gave you a good match, but you beat him, and that's why the Puerto Rican audience has their attention on your match and on Adam's match. We want you to see you succeed, and maybe down the road, maybe you will meet with Noel again. But I want you to speak to us about what have you been doing to pull with Janis, because Janis is a top class arm wrestler, and I think you have never pulled before, right?
Yeah, no, we've never arm wrestled before. I was supposed to go to Wall back in the day, and that just never ended up working out for me. So I just never got the opportunity. And then at Worlds, I seen him multiple times at Worlds, and we never pulled because he was always a weight class above me. So it never worked out.
Okay. But I think it's a great match, and it's been a long time overdue. Even I thought you were in the same weight class, right? Or he was always above you?
Yeah, I used to be, back in the day, he used to be 65s and I was in the 54s. And the two or three times I met him at Worlds, he wasn't above me. And then I was always lighter weight than him. And then recently I gained, just being older, I guess, I got into the 65, 76 pound class. So I kind of just hang out around 176 to 185, somewhere around that range all the time. I don't really diet or anything to make, whatever, but about 180, walk around and be fat and eat whatever I want. So, 76 is not too bad for me. So now we're a little bit closer because Janis is still, he's probably about 170. Yeah, I think he's about 170.
The match is at 170, right? There is a weight cap, right?
It's 175.
175?
Yeah.
And how did this match came about? Who put it together?
This match has been trying to happen for about 3 years now, and it just hasn't happened. And this time around, Tim Talamaj put it together with his new Arm Sports Entertainment, and he just called me up one day. First off, I was already going to Arizona because I helped Tim run Arizona State, and so I was going there to run my brackets and everything else for him. And then he just called me up and said, "Hey, you want to pull Janis?" And I was like, "Yeah." So, just turned into, "All right, well, you're pulling him," and I was like, "Cool." And then it didn't really set in for a couple months, like no one really even took much attention to it. And then it slowly got more and more momentum behind it, and people started saying, "Well, oh yeah, this is actually a good match. This is gonna be great. This is awesome."
When I heard it, I I don't know, I wouldn't say weeks back, but I think I've heard it like a month and a half. And
Yeah.
since I heard it, I've been excited about it because this is a long time overdue. Like,
Yeah.
you're a strong arm wrestler. You're the fastest arm wrestler I've ever seen. And Janis is like strong and technical. So it's going to be like an epic battle between
Yeah.
you guys' styles and philosophy of training and arm wrestling.
Yeah. Giannis is very, very strong. He's very technical. I would probably say that he has, probably two solid moves that can be executed at any time. And my style is more of a hit first, ask questions later. But there is still a lot of technique behind what I do. So I don't want to say it's not going to be a technical match, but I don't think it'll come down to who's stronger. I think it's going to definitely come down to who gets control first and who can maintain the control all the way through the match. Unlike some of the matches he's had before, where he's had to just beat someone who's stronger, like most people try to beat me, they try to just outpower me, and that doesn't typically work. So
Yeah.
Unless you're incredibly strong, super heavyweight, something like that. But yeah, I think in particular this match is going to come down to who gets control, where the technique is, whose technique's better, minor abilities and strength as far as that goes. Stat wise, we're basically identical. He's like a tiny bit taller than I am, but arms, all the measurements were identical. So it's not like he's, taller, bigger, stronger, something like that. It's pretty comparable. So yeah, I think it's going to be a hard one.
To me, in my opinion, I've seen you and Janis spoke before, and I think it's going to come down to a battle of speed versus hand control. Because I'm wrestling. I'm not wrestling competitive anymore, but I've been in and around the sport for more than 20 years, and you're thunder, like you're fast, and to me, a fast hitter, it's really difficult to beat, and the only way you can beat a fast hitter is stopping the match and maybe getting the strap and on the stronger hand. And that's that's what I see this match going in that direction, like speed versus a strong hand, and maybe stopping the match in the strap.
Yeah, I've been training for that. So if it does end up going to strap, I'm not super worried. So
Okay.
Like most people don't realize, a lot of my speed is actually a lot of power behind it. So it's not just fast. It's a lot of power. So you got to slow down a freight train, not just a little motorcycle. So I mean,
exactly. That's what I say. When I talk about speed on the table on arm wrestling, I just talk about it. But me as an arm wrestler, if you want to be quick, you got to be really, really, really strong. Because you get the speed on how comfortable you feel against your opponent. Because if you don't feel comfortable against your opponent, you ain't gonna hit fast. But when you hit as fast as you do, it means that there's a lot of force and strength behind that hit. So you're absolutely right, and I agree with you. And when I say speed, I'm not just talking about going fast. I'm talking about power. And I'm wrestling speed is power.
Right. I mean, a lot of people get confused with that. I just like to point that out because a lot of people just think I'm like incredibly fast, and I'm not as strong as everyone else. And I will say that I'm probably not the strongest one in the class by lifting and all that kind of stuff, but I'm still really strong when it comes to going from 0 to 1,000. That is where I have a unique ability to do something, and most people cannot just accommodate most of that 0 to 100 movement. So that's usually what I get out of people is like
you have really, really strong acceleration.
Yeah, acceleration, exactly.
That's killer in arm wrestling. That's a killer when you got really, really strong acceleration like you do. And like the way you train for that, you train specifically. And actually, do you still train like I used to watch you in your videos with the thing that you pull all the weights and you pull yourself like straight to the side? You still train like that? You still have that equipment?
Yeah, I still got it. It's in the room over there. I don't do that all the time like I used to, but because I think one thing most people got to realize too is if you just kept doing the same thing over and over and over for 20 years, you're not going to get any better at arm wrestling. There's a certain point in time where, yeah, you gotta expand the window, and you gotta do things that your body's not used to and doesn't like to do, and work on those type of things, and pull guys who are bigger hands that are stronger in side pressure, so on and so forth. So a lot of my stuff recently, for probably the last, I don't know, 10 years, has all been dedicated to, hand control and back pressure, and not so much just being able to plow straight through people. I want to be able to not have to hit every single time and control the match with a strap or control the match with back pressure. My hand has gotten substantially stronger in the last 5 years.
And that means if you're saying that your hand is stronger, it means if you want to go fast, it's going to be faster than before.
Yeah, exactly. And I could, I just, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get it to where speed isn't the key to everything. Like I can still control matches by going slow and not over hitting myself sometimes. Because a lot of times in the past, I would, on a guy that I know that I wasn't stronger, I would hit even harder, and I'd almost hit myself out of position and get into bad spots. And now I'm learning to, control the power that I have, because before I never could really control. I just smack as hard as I could, and my arm usually caught up with me. So I'm like, yeah, it's kind of slowing that down, controlling, using more hand control, using more back pressure, and I'm more versatile now. I can go into hooks, I can go into top rolls. I don't limp wrist or anything like that, but I can do a combination of things from the move now, rather than just being a top roller or whatever.
Yeah, remembering the matches you had with Noel, that's exactly what you did.
Yeah.
Like Noel was expecting you to be like lightning fast, and you were, but you went other places that he wasn't expecting. And Noel is a very powerful arm wrestler. You know him, you pulled him.
Oh yeah.
And when you did those things that you're just talking about, he wasn't expecting those, and that's what put him in trouble, and eventually losing both matches. I think you got first and he got second.
Yeah. His left arm is really strong. My left arm's kind of still wishy-washy. The last couple of years, it's been hurt off and on, but his right arm, I can tell you for a fact, is really strong. The guy's incredibly strong. He just has one move that he's really, really good at, and he sets up in that one move. And if you can deviate him out of that little move, then he kind of gets like, what's going on? And that's all I had to do. I just had to get him out of his game where he didn't really feel comfortable anymore. And that's all it takes. And that's not a strength problem for Noel. Noel is, by God, he's probably 10 times stronger than I am. But I was able that day just to mess with him enough that he didn't feel comfortable in his power anymore. And that just takes time.
That's the thing in Puerto Rico. We're not a really big arm wrestling community. We're a small arm wrestling community, and we have there's a group from the north side of the island, and there's the guys from the west. That's what I am. I'm from the west of Puerto Rico, and he's from the north. And the guys from the north, like Barceloneta, the municipality of Florida in Puerto Rico, they have that style, that kind of style. They all pull the same. They all either do what Noel do, like is this big hook, or they go with high hook. That's the way of arm wrestling. And they got the philosophy, like, if you're good on that, work on it and make it really, really strong. And they just play that card on their matches, and it works. They have to find somebody like you or Adam that are really strong, that can take him out of that move, of their moves, so they can put them in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I've said that for years is when you're first starting out in arm wrestling, you find that one move and you get really good at it. But then there's a certain point in time where you need to make the executive decision that I need to learn other moves and I need to get strong at everything, not just pulling back as hard as I can and seeing if the guy can move my arm. That that right there is the next step for him. He's got to stop what he's doing and convince him to pull different ways at different tournaments. And that will make him grow exponentially. And that guy is incredibly strong. So if he does that, if he mentally just does that and says, I'm going to lose these next couple of tournaments and matches and whatever, but I'm going to go in there and I'm going to try to do a regular hook, or I'm going to do a regular top roll and convince my body to do something it's not used to doing, he will grow as an arm wrestler. And probably the next 2-3 years, he'll be destroying most, if not everyone over there.
Just because and he's a young kid. He's like 26 or 27. He's young.
Yeah, he's young. He's young. Yeah.
And he's coming to Puerto Rico. He lives in Florida. He's coming to Puerto Rico on May 6th. He's gonna be here from May 6th to May 9th. And I'm gonna meet with him on the 7th. And we're gonna do the podcast like in person, not via Zoom. And we're gonna have a little practice and all that. And we're gonna talk about all this. Because he's had the opportunity to pull you and pull a lot of great arm wrestlers from the United States, like Adam and Rakers and all those, you know.
Yeah.
So he has had a great opportunity to grow into sports living in the States, you know, in Puerto Rico, where we wanna do that, we gotta travel. And we got a couple of guys here in Puerto Rico that are really strong. Like Noel already lives in Florida, but his brother Sadiel, he travels to visit his brother and competes in Florida, and he has been King of Florida like twice, I think. And another kid from Puerto Rico también, Wesley Contes. I think he's I don't know if he's going to Arizona, but I heard he was getting ready for a tournament in the States. I don't know if it's this one. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he shows up, but he's on he's kind of like you. He's really fast. And I think he's in your weight class, like 170, 165, something like that. But he's a really good arm wrestler. He has a future in the sport. And I wanted to ask you, at what age did you start arm wrestling?
I started when I was 17, and I am 37. So I've been basically been doing it. Well, yeah, so I started in April 23rd, 2003. So actually, on that Sunday of the tournament, I will have been in arm wrestling for 19 years. I think 19 years now. Or 20, yeah, 20 years.
20 years. 20 years.
20 years. 21 years, yeah. This will be the 20. I'm in 20 years. It'll be 21, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I started when I was 16, and I'm 40 now. I've been arm wrestling for like 20 something years, 26 years, I think. And not arm wrestling, in and around the sport, because in Puerto Rico there was a time where the sport was really popular, and there was a big tournament, kind of like the Yukon Jack in the United States. It was called the Pulseo Medalla, and that's when I started back on those days. And then the tournament died out, and only like really small tournaments went on, like, I don't know, once every 5 years. And just now, from 2018 to here, when PulseoTV started, when I started this arm wrestling channel, that, you know, it's been like moving a little better, and people are more interested and motivated, and we got really young kids that are starting in the sports, in the amateurs and all that. And on the 29th of April, there's gonna be like a super match event in Naranjito, Puerto Rico. Hopefully I'm gonna be there to cover the event and have another podcast with Rich Alcalero. I don't know if you have heard of him.
Yeah, I think I have, actually.
Richard, he won the Michigan States a couple of weeks back on left hand 198 class.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
He's been on wrestling for years. He was from New York, then Pennsylvania, and you know, he's been on wrestling for years.
Yeah,
in the States, in the East Coast, mostly in the East Coast.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And arm wrestling goes in waves. I mean, you probably know it goes up and down, and it dies for a couple of years, and it comes back, and it goes up, and the whole wall thing and all that, and all the other whatnot that's been going on. I mean, you see stuff like that happen all the time. It does these things, and people come through, and you ride the waves, and hopefully one of these waves just keeps going, because
Yeah,
that's what we
like
all want.
my theory is that when COVID hit, every
Yeah,
other sport stopped, but arm wrestling kept going.
yeah,
And it kept going because other, like Larry Wheels, he couldn't make any content. So what he did, he started arm wrestling, and he
yeah.
brought Devon over there, and they started with the King of the Table thing, and now COVID is dying out, and the sport of arm wrestling is coming strong out of COVID. Now we got the
Yeah,
King of the Table thing, we got the East versus West thing from Endgame, which are two events that are doing great,
yep.
and the scene in the United States, it's more active, with the pay-per-view thing in YouTube and everything. It's helping a lot.
It's out of control. it's
Yeah,
I swear there's a tournament every single week in the United States now. It's
yeah, and it's
ridiculous.
good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a good thing. I'm just saying, like, I remember back in the day where I would plan my tournaments out like once or twice a month, and I could basically go to like this state, this state, this state, this state. Now I'm like, there's 55 tournaments going on this weekend. Which one do I want to go
Yeah,
to?
actually, you got the Arizona, your Arizona states this weekend, but there's another one, right?
Yeah, in Louisiana.
In
There's a
Louisiana, they got another super matches too, right?
Yeah, they got 3 or 4 good super matches in that one. Krazy's
Yeah,
over there. And, a couple other good guys are pulling too. Yeah,
yeah,
those are decent matches as well.
yeah,
So
yeah. And I'm covering and giving attention to the Arizona states because I've become like friends through social media with Chris
yeah,
and Tim. Actually, I met Tim in 2016 because he
hmm
came to Puerto Rico with the PAF, and
yeah,
they did an event in San Juan, and I was there, and I met him. He had a super match with Alex Cruz, which he actually lost, and because the guys here were ready, they were ready for the guys that were coming, and I remember Tim Lewis, the short guy with strong left hand. He came that day too, and Paul Lothario, and actually I met Tim that day, and when I saw he was, Chris told me he was in charge of this tournament. I reached out to him to try to lend a hand, maybe do some coverage, and when when I heard about your match and Adam's match, because I had Adam on this podcast a couple of weeks back. It was a great podcast, and he has pulled Noel too, and we talked about it. And the people here in Puerto Rico are they want to know how the outcome. That the people in Puerto Rico really want to know the outcome of your matches, because not only have you and Adam have pulled a Puerto Rican in Noel, you
hmm
have tough matches because Janis is like really famous worldwide and all that, and
yeah,
Rakers is a legend in arm wrestling, and he's really strong, and you're
yeah,
young, and the Puerto Rican people like young pullers, young arm wrestlers, making their way through the ranks, and since you pulled Noel and you beat Noel, everybody wants to know if you will beat Janis, and everybody's rooting for you, and everybody's rooting for Adam.
yeah. I mean, I feel my odds are pretty good. I've been training really hard for this, and I'm more than enough prepared for this match. I think that, like I told you before, I think the technique's gonna have to be perfect to beat him, and I can't make any mistakes. And same thing for him. He can't afford to make mistakes, and this is going to be a very, very technical who is able to perform the best.
Yeah.
It's not a typical power match or who's going to put in the hook and who's going to grind it out. It's not one of those kind of matches. So people are going to expect it, or typically I would say on these kind of super matches, people want to see these barn burner matches where they go for hours and whatever, and someone ends up with pulling for 20 minutes. But I just don't
Yeah.
see that happening with this match. It's going to get who gets
Me neither.
control and who takes control quick enough and then attacks. It's going to be one of those kinds of things. So
I wanted to hear your thoughts or who you think it might win with the Coach Ray and Artem match and with the Adam and Rakers match. Who do you think are going to win those?
well, I'm feeling that Artem's going to take that one just because I don't know if Artem's right arm's going to take that one, but I think his left arm's got it no problem.
Yeah, his left is strong.
He may surprise people right-handed and maybe pull off a win or two. But left-handed, I got Artem all day. The Rakers one is difficult for me because I've never pulled Adam before. I pulled Rakers a million times. But Adam is a very, very, very strong human being. That guy is very, very strong, and he can pull multiple different ways. He's not just an inside guy. And Rakers is kind of a one-trick pony. He's got one move who is really, really strong, and I have to believe that Adam's going to be able to eventually get it out of there and be smart enough to get it out of that spot. And I want to say Adam pulls it off in the end. It will be hard in the beginning, but he eventually pulls it off, and Adam wins that match. But it's going to be probably a 3-2 kind of thing. That's kind of my prediction. It would be 3-2 either way. How's that? It's not going to be 3 matches straight.
Yeah. I agree with you. 3-2 either way.
Yeah. It's going to come down to Adam getting to find that niche where he can take control, and then he beats Raker from that point on. But if he doesn't do that, then Raker's is going to go right through him each time. But I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, and I've seen I've been following Adam's social media, and he trains like the West Side Barbell style.
Yeah.
And he applies that to his arm wrestling workouts, not in the way like Todd Hutchins do, but in his own way, because he's a football guy, and he knows how to get strong. And I've been following his training, and he's been doing things that like it didn't occur to me to do myself. So I believe like it's gonna be the strongest version of Adam in this match.
Yeah,
and he's got a lot of support from the community.
Yeah, he's a strong dude, and I've seen a lot of his matches. He controls every match he's in. So
and his intensity. He's a really intense guy in the table, and that makes a difference.
Yep, for sure. Yep.
And Corey, after this event and after this match, what are your plans for the future?
Future plans. Let's see. Well, most people know that I've been big time in running tournaments. So I've been running a lot of brackets for almost, I don't know, pretty much everybody, it seems like these days. But one of the big things I've been working on is my bracket system with a ranking system behind it that will take all the bias out of rankings and stuff. And it's gonna redefine arm wrestling, I think, once it's up and running and kind of built and people will see what it's doing and stuff. I know people aren't gonna like it at first. They're gonna hate it because it's gonna be, well, I just beat that guy. Well, that's not how this works. So, like I get asked all the time, well, what happens if a John Brzezinski walks in, he hasn't pulled for 2 years, and then and the top 10 guys are in there and he beats all top 10. And I said, well, John Brzezinski won't be number one. The rankings has to be built. You can't just be that guy because you jumped on the table one time and you're that guy. That kind of rankings has its own base on another system like they're doing right now. But this version is more of a competition-based rating of the person and how they do throughout everything of arm wrestling, not just super matches, not just tournaments, the whole 9 yards. It's not meant to be who is the number one guy in the world type thing. It will eventually get to that point, but it's meant to not do that.
It's like when you see other sports. You don't see in baseball that the team that's in last place beats the first and the second, and then it's in first place. They
Right.
have to win games to be in
Yeah.
first place, and
Yeah.
and that's how a rankings in any sport should be.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's like and that's the other thing is just because you win doesn't mean you'll go up very high. Like let's say you and I are arm wrestling whatever, and I go to those little small tournaments all the time, and I beat everybody. But all those people I beat are just very sub level rating people. My rating doesn't go up very high because I'm pulling subpar people myself. So you go to another tournament and you're traveling all over the world, going to these different tournaments and pulling the best. You win a lot, you lose, half of them or whatever. Your ranking will substantially go higher than mine because you are pulling the best people. And that's the whole idea of this is not, you don't want to have the people who just go out and pull Joe Schmo tournaments and win a one match against the best guy. I want the guy who goes out and beats everybody all the time consistently, not the guy who beats him one time. Because
it's like the world rankings now. I think this page, the World Arm Wrestling, I don't know which page is it that has a world ranking, and it's based on votes. Like people vote for who is number one, and that's not. It shouldn't work like that. Like people say, Jerry Calaret should be second or third, but Jerry hasn't pulled in 2 years. How could he be number two? Now, Jerry's strong and he may be the best, but he hasn't competed, in so long. It's not fair to put him in the rankings, him or anybody else. So I think what you're doing, it's the right path arm wrestling should follow in the rankings.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back to any sport. If you think about it, like basketball, like the LeBron James, Michael Jordan thing. Was Michael Jordan better than LeBron James? In some aspects, yeah, sure. But in other aspects, probably not. But you look at statistics. You have to look at statistics. And in arm wrestling right now, there's very little statistics. And what this is going to bring in is massive loads of statistics. Like, for example, who was the best Texas puller in 2010 and at 154 pounds? Boom, you will be able to tell you that. Who was how many times did I beat you in the last 20 years? Boom, you'd be able to tell you that. It's going to be able to break down matches per match. How many tournaments I go to, all kinds of just extraordinary amount of stats are going to be able to be pulled from the system that later on is going to say, wow, like, a Noel goes places, but does he go everywhere or does he travel a small area? And now we're seeing that he's beating these consistent people, but he's not expanding his horizons and getting out there. Whereas like a John Brzezinski, he's going here, he's going there, he's going here, and he beats almost everybody. So it's really gonna open the eyes of the people to say, am I really that good at arm wrestling, or do I just beat the same people over and over again?
Yeah, and the sport I'm a power lifter too, and the sport of powerlifting has a system. I don't remember the page. I will send you the link in a message, in a text. That like powerlifting, the number one guy is the guy that can lift more weight. Okay, we were clear on that. But if you look, this guy, it has all his statistics, all of the meets he has done, all the weights, all the numbers he has in every competition. They're all there. And that's what I'm hearing you say, that your system is going to have all the information and the statistics from everybody that's in it and has pulled anywhere.
Yeah, and the idea is not so much just if it's based out of my bracket system, but I'm gonna pull in other people's stuff. Like if you ran a tournament or whatever, I grab your paper brackets, your computerized brackets, whatever, bring them in, reproduce them into the system so that we can have the most amount of data possible. Because truly, that is the number one thing. It has to have consistent and accurate data. So the more years and the more stuff I can compile together, I can really build something that people will be like, wow, that really does prove, Corey does actually go out and arm wrestle everybody and beats almost everybody. Like a prime example is we ran a first test of it on the Vegas tournament I just went to 2 weeks ago, and in the rankings per class, obviously, and you got to take this into consideration. It's just one tournament, so it's not really super accurate. But that in that one tournament, I was ranked number one. I got the highest rating in the left-handed 90 class, 190 or whatever it was. And even though I got second, so you're going to say, well, how did you get a higher rating than the other guys? Well, what happened is that I pulled 8 matches. I pulled 8 matches in that event. Alex Matias pulled 5. So I pulled 8, he pulled 5. Now, the very first match I pulled, I won. The second match, I lost on fouls. So I immediately got put in the B side of the bracket. But I had the first match in the bracket, and everyone else got into the second round. So I immediately had more matches than everyone else. I at least had one. So then I went into the B side, and I pulled guys who had won matches on the top side and dropped down, and I ended up beating them again. And then I ended up beating Alex again in the finals. So I was just coming down the line, stealing points from everybody. And then I stole a bunch of points from him, and then I was on fouls to him the second time. But overall, I ended up like 9 points higher than him because of the fact that I went 6 and 8 and he went 4 and 5. So mathematically speaking, I had more matches against more consistent, better pullers than he did. So,
yeah, and it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yep. And if he would have beat me in the finals and I wouldn't have won the match at all, then he would have been higher than me. No questions asked. We ran the bracket just to see, and sure enough, he ended up like 15 points higher than me. But since I pulled off one win on him, and then lost on fouls the next time, I was able to gain enough points, and he didn't steal enough back from me on that win to make up the difference. So it's
sense.
like that's kind of stuff that will kind of like confuse people at first, but you got to realize it's more about individual matches. So, you wouldn't want to, unless you're super confident and losing the first round and going through the B side, but then it's about, okay, did he pull consistently good guys through the B side, or did he just pull guys who are average in the B side? That's going to be another problem. So more matches obviously means more points, but more matches for people that are not very good will get you less points. So it's a catch-22 kind of thing.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought this subject up, because I asked Denise for help in that area here in Puerto Rico, because we always have a problem that when there's tournaments around and nobody knows how to run a bracket properly, and mistakes are made, people end up pulling way too much, or it's screwed up. And I reached out for Denise, and I actually, you remember, I spoke to you about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been to Puerto Rico, so that'd be cool. Just invite me down, and I'll run your brackets for you and teach you some stuff, and get you all set up.
We need a computerized, digitalized bracket system, because it would be so much better. Because writing everything down and all that, we're human. Mistakes are going to be made and have been made, and people get pissed off.
Oh yeah, I know for sure that one. No, but yeah, for real, if you guys, I mean, I know we've talked in the past about it, but if there's some way we can make that happen, I'll come down and run. I've never been to Puerto Rico, so who knows,
That would be awesome. Actually, I was talking to Adam about the same thing, and if we can work something out and you guys can come down, we'll be happy to have you here and do an event or a tournament, and more than happy that you would run it and teach us how to do it, because we need the help. Like our I'm wrestling in Puerto Rico is not organized. Like there's like little local tournaments and stuff like that, and people want to get organized, but they don't necessarily agree with each other, with the rules or with the system, or everybody wants to do their things their way, and we need some kind of direction. And like I'm dedicating to making content of arm wrestling for the people of Puerto Rico. I'm not really going into the events or tournaments or competitive stuff, but I'm willing to help, and that's why I reach out to you guys, so you could like lend me a hand or help to get in the right path to, at the end, be organized and have a fair system.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, you got to start somewhere. You can't just go crazy, and that's usually end up how people get hurt and rules get messed up and people get confused. And and another big thing you kind of touched on it was the refereeing. So refereeing needs to be solid. You need to have solid brackets, and you need to have solid direction all the way around for your tournament, no matter how big it is. And if you start off with a strong base of we're running it this way, and there's going to be this refs with these rules, and it just builds and builds and builds, and people realize, okay, these guys aren't screwing around anymore. You have to run it this way. There's no more elbow fouling. There's no more nonsense. We are professionals, and we're going in there to be a professional. And that's how I like to run things. I'm tired of all the.
I agree with you 100%. 100%, I agree with you. And to tell you the truth, I started doing this Probando Fuerza podcast, which in English is Testing Strength, because I wanted to reach out to the other Latin American countries to see if they were arm wrestling, and they had people that participate in events and arm wrestlers. And to my surprise, when I thought I was reaching out to get them into the sport, in Latin America, they are very, very organized. They have their associations, their federations, they run their tournaments, they have their brackets, they have their rankings. I mean, Colombia is organized, Ecuador is organized, Honduras, Guatemala, and the most organized Latin American country in arm wrestling is Costa Rica, which in June is going to have the Pan American Championships, the WAF Pan American Champions in Costa Rica. And I was like amazed, like, damn. It's not them that they're outside or behind in arm wrestling. It's us. It's Puerto Rico that's outside the loop, because in Latin America they are organized and they're doing their thing. They're not looking anywhere. They're looking inside themselves, their own country, and they are doing things. And you should look it up. I will send you links to their social media and stuff. They run things like they're very organized.
Yeah,
you would be amazed.
The Pan Am thing is actually pretty cool. That I was gonna try to go to it one year when before the IFA stuff and then all that jazz happened, but yeah, no, they've come a long ways. So it just needs, some people just need a little bit of direction and kind of, and like I told you, we can figure something out and get down there, run a tournament.
Like Puerto Rico could not compete in the Pan American because Puerto Rico doesn't have an association or arm wrestling federation, doesn't have any ruling government of the sport. So I don't believe that they would allow us to participate. I'm going to try to make a trip, to get videos and record everything that happens there on June. I'm going to try to make it to Costa Rica, but competitively, I don't believe Puerto Ricans can go because we don't have, an organization that provides that platforms for us to represent Puerto Rico on the Pan Am,
Yeah, and there's a bunch of people I could tell you to talk to for that part of things and help you, get your team in order. And even if it starts small and it's 5-10 people, whatever, it doesn't matter. You got to start somewhere and then figure out where you're going to go from there and run consistent base tournaments and nationals or whatever. But yeah, no. If we can make something happen, even if it's for.
I want to ask you that if we could do this again after your match with Janis, I would appreciate it.
Yeah.
We could do it again, and we can keep in contact so we can, I don't know, try to make something work for you to come here or whatever. Figure something out,
Yeah. I'm open to ideas
or whatever, so we can work something, because I would really want Adam to come, and if you could come together, it would be better, it would be great. It would be awesome,
Yeah, I mean, I've traveled pretty much all over the place to do training seminars and everything else because, I don't know if you watch my arm wrestling university with Uncle John or not, but
I do.
Yeah, it's kind of like a mini version of what I do, like other places, but a lot of great things happen on that show. We break people down pretty good, but it's different in person. Obviously, you can kind of move hands and turn, direct things differently. So, I'm all about doing training. So
Yeah.
it's not about winning and losing. Really, to me, it's about learning and growing from the sport and stuff like that. So I have a different attitude towards arm wrestling, I guess, than most people. But
To
yeah,
me, to
no,
me, I think we're a lot alike in that subject, and
yeah,
how we approach training and the thing with arm wrestling, because like when you have in Puerto Rico, people are kind of hot headed,
yeah,
and they brag, and and actually, like, for example, there's a guy that says he's the strongest wrestler in Puerto Rico, and he hasn't even competed in a tournament once.
uh,
And people get mad, and so it's kind of hard to do things with people like that, but we got to find a way to work it out.
yeah. There's always that one guy.
Yeah.
he'll, he'll learn soon enough.
Yeah. Well, Corey, I don't want to take much more of your time. I know you got to rest and prepare for your flight tomorrow. I would like to thank you in the name of the people of Puerto Rico and Latin America to share these moments with us and this conversation. And we hope you can be with us again after your match, and that we can work something out so we can have you visit. And I would want you, before we go, for you to send a message to your people of Puerto Rico about the sport or joining the sport.
Well, I guess one important thing I could say, like the Noel thing, is that don't sit there and expect people to teach you how to arm wrestle. You have to learn how to arm wrestle for yourself. You gotta evolve yourself as an arm wrestler. I mean, if you want to be the best version of you, you can't learn that from someone else. You can always learn little tidbits from people, but you have to evolve as a person, as a learner, to really understand not just arm wrestling techniques and strengths, but I'm talking like the rules and etiquette, and that kind of stuff is built from the inside of you. It's not a given to you by somebody type thing. And I think over the last 20 years, that's one of the biggest things I've picked up. Sorry, this one of the biggest things I picked up on is just being a really good learner and taking everything in and taking losses with a grain of salt, and really just kind of harnessing that loss and turning it into something great. And like you said, you got a lot of hothead kind of guys down there who think they're ultra super strong, and they're going to learn real fast that will get you nowhere, and it will get you just far enough, and then you're going to hate arm wrestling and you're going to be done. Yeah, but if you can take that mentality and turn it into good and use it to better yourself as an arm wrestler and a person in general, you will greatly grow from this whole thing. So and arm wrestling is around forever. You're never going to not arm wrestle. I'll probably be 70 years old still arm wrestling, which is ridiculous, but it's not a young man sport. It's really an old guy sport. We just young guys get into it, and then they realize there's a lot of old guys beating on young guys. So
yeah, it is.
And like I said, I hope to get down there and maybe visit you guys and see what's going on, and maybe do a training or a tournament or who knows what,
Yeah.
And yeah, the sky's the limit from there.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, and hope to speak to you after your match. Good luck, and I expect you to go 3-0.
Well, that's awesome.
That's what I expect.
I'd love 3-0 too. I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, I could see it happening. I could see me smashing the first two matches, and then I got work a little harder. But no. I think if I do smash them 3 times, though, the world's gonna jaw's gonna drop. Just.
But
it's gonna be
that's
nuts.
a good thing, because people that don't get tested don't get anywhere. This guy has been
Oh yeah,
he hasn't been tested with a guy like you.
yeah. That's the thing. And another great point you just made is one of the reasons I'm in arm wrestling is just for the challenge. Like I like to be challenged. I like to people to tell me that I can't do something because I'm smaller or I'm not as strong or whatever. I like it when people tell me that because that just motivates me even more to prove them wrong. You know,
Yeah.
I don't need to be the strongest guy there. I need to be the smartest guy there. And
Yeah.
that is one thing that a lot of people don't get with arm wrestling. They think I just got to be the strongest guy. I just got to be this. And it doesn't work like that. And if you can be that guy who uses motivation of losses or people telling you you're no good or all that kind of stuff, you know, you ever seen the movie Waterboy? You know, it's
Yes.
that whole thing. It's use all that negative to turn into a positive. So, and that's
Yeah.
one thing I love about arm wrestling.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Corey, thank you for being with us tonight. This
Yep.
will be up tomorrow. Please follow Corey on his social media. I will put up the links below. Please buy the pay-per-view on Arm Wrestling TV for the
Yes.
Arizona State Championships to see all these great matches and the tournament. And we hope we can do this again after your match. Okay, Corey?
Yeah, well, for sure. Yep.
Thank you, and you have a great one. Rest up for Saturday.
Thanks, sir.